does not lead on impeachment, she won't leave a legacy of resistance like many other San Francisco Democrats. She will leave a legacy of failure.
I love it. These are activists who attended one of the events in honor of Nancy Pelosi to call her out and demand that she open an impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump. This took place during the San Francisco Democratic Party's event to give Pelosi a Lifetime Achievement Award. And so the activists that you're about to see didn't just stick around outside. They went to the event, they were quiet, they were doing their thing, and then as soon as Nancy Pelosi went up and started speaking, this is what happened. So they were escorted out by police. From what I've read in various reports, no one was arrested, luckily. But I love the fact that they're showing up, they're active, and they're demanding change. And the young woman that you saw in the first video actually had such compelling statements that we're gonna go to in just a second. But I love this because it shows Nancy Pelosi, hey, the second you walk out of your Washington bubble and you talk to real voters, this is what they want. They want action, they want change, they want you to hold Donald Trump accountable.
So I love it too, and I want to explain why I thought this protest was among the best that were executed. Because number one, voters don't have a choice anymore because both Republican and Democratic leadership don't listen to voters at all. They don't want to meet with voters. They have enormous disdain for voters. So if you got to check for Nancy Pelosi, she'll meet with you right away. Same with Schumer, of course, McConnell. McConnell wouldn't know an average American if his life depended on it. And so they are then inviting protests. We have no choice because they've shut out our voice completely. Now, when you go to do the protest, obviously we always practice nonviolence. And in fact, when we do rallies, we teach de-escalation and nonviolence. So obviously nothing physical, we're the left wing, check. And be loud, there's nothing wrong with being loud. But then when the security comes, walk out, it's okay. You've made your point, we're not trying to shut out their voice. We're trying to give us a voice for the first time because we're so underrepresented in Washington and in their bubble, you have no idea, it's actually worse than you think. Inside of Washington, Pelosi has everyone and a phalanx of sycophants going around going, oh, you're so great, Speaker Pelosi. You're the best, Speaker Pelosi. Everything you've ever done is so genius, Speaker Pelosi. Oh my God, everybody loves you, Speaker Pelosi. So it's like the first time she ever hears from any real Americans when you do this. Of course you let her speak, but there's nothing wrong with being loud in the beginning. But when, like I said, under any circumstance, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, when security comes, it's okay, you've made your point, now take it outside and then go and give speeches outside. Wonderful, perfect.
Yeah, and you're right, look, we live in completely different worlds because while we're on the left, right? I mean, we're definitely further on the left, but there are members of the Democratic Party, members of the establishment who look at Pelosi and they think, yeah, Lifetime Achievement Award. So I was curious, like what is it that the San Francisco Democratic Party is citing in giving her this award, especially at a time when Trump is allowed to run roughshod and do whatever he wants without any real ramifications? Well, the San Francisco Democratic Party said Pelosi's contributions to repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell and urging for net neutrality protections in California I know, demonstrates her commitment to fighting for the people. Look, that's weak sauce in my opinion, right?
Super weak sauce.
Not even close to what we need in terms of leadership. We need someone who's willing to fight back against Donald Trump. And there were Pelosi supporters in the crowd as well, and so they started chanting to kind of drown out the sound of the protesters. But I don't want to drown out the sound of the protesters on this show. Their words are so important, their stories are important. So I want to go back to the young woman that we featured at the very top of this story, and I want you to hear what her arguments are for impeachment. Take a look.
Today, I stand here grounded in my immigrant experience As a US citizen with the right to vote, a big mouth, and a big megaphone. I am the Trump administration's worst nightmare. Speaker Pelosi is right inside, about to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award, but her legacy is at a crossroads. While Donald Trump empowers white supremacists who are gunning down our communities, locks up migrant children and families in concentration camps, strips away health care protections for transgender people, and cuts millions of women off from accessing health care from Planned Parenthood, Speaker Pelosi keeps telling us to wait on impeachment. She tells us to wait for the Mueller report, wait for the unredacted Mueller report, wait until impeachment polls better, wait for 2020. I'm here to say that my family, my community, our families, our communities cannot afford to wait any longer.
Yeah, you know, wonderful. They're actually, I'm more critical of Pelosi than even those protesters are, because at one point she gave her credit for passing the Affordable Care Act and said that she's done some good things. And I think it's the most overhyped thing that Pelosi's ever done. She kept her caucus together. They had a massive majority, and they passed a very weak version, much better than the plan, the current system they had then. I'm not against it that they passed it, but it's like, wow, you got a plan that was originally a Heritage Foundation plan passed through a massive Democratic majority with the Senate and the president on your side. Anyway, I can go on and on. Look, I get why they give her Lifetime Achievement Awards. She's historic in at least the fact that she was the first female Speaker of the House ever, and now she's a 2-time Speaker of the House. So I'm mixed on that, but at the end of the day, she's wrong on impeachment, and her career, in my opinion, has been defined by a lack of willingness to fight against Republicans.
So I want to just quickly give you a statement from Pelosi in response to the protests. Diversity is the party's strength, but unity is its power, which Pelosi talking about unity after the way she went after freshman congresswomen, the squad. She has no leg to stand on. I mean, she has effectively exacerbated any and all divide that exists between establishment Democrats and progressives. So it's just a weak argument.
It's actually worse than that, because she got so frustrated that of the, what she would consider the insolence of these young freshman congresswomen who would not behave as they were told to do, right? That she blurted out about how they were in favor of Green Dream or whatever. It's just only 4 people. And of course she spit on Medicare for all, etc. But what happens behind the scenes is way worse. She puts Richard Neal in charge of the most powerful committee in the House that controls the budget. And Richard Neal says, I don't want Trump's tax returns from New York. Doesn't fight Trump at all on purpose, because Pelosi told him, under no circumstances are you to fight against Trump. And then she turns around and then puts Sherry Bustos as the head of the DCCC, whose job is to elect more Democrats in the House. But that is not, Pelosi tells her, don't do that. Make sure you elect more corporate Democrats. There's several progressives that were within inches of beating Republicans last time around. Bustos and Pelosi are now actively working against them and trying to find new people to run against them in primaries, even though all they had to do was support them a little bit, and right now they'd be in Congress. But Pelosi doesn't want those Democrats in Congress because she hates progressives. And I mean, and she accidentally let us know because she got frustrated and said, they're 4 people or whatever. These progressives, they don't really count. And that's who Pelosi is. She's a corporate Democrat through and through.
So there was a Monmouth University poll just today, it was released today, and the topic was impeachment. Do the majority of Americans support impeachment? Now, keep in mind that the numbers I'm about to give you include both Democrats and Republicans and independents, to be fair. And according to this poll released Thursday, 35% of Americans support impeaching Trump and removing him from office, while 59% of Americans oppose that course of action. Only 41% of Americans want the House Judiciary Committee to open an impeachment inquiry against the president. Now let's go to graphic 8. If you poll Democrats, remember Pelosi is the leader of the Democratic Party, the House, but she's a leader, Democratic leader. Although 72% of Democrats believe Trump should be impeached, 72%. Only 39% of independents and 8% of Republicans support impeachment. So I wanted to give you those numbers so you know where the Democratic Party stands when it comes to this question of impeachment.
So two things about that. One, let's be clear, it's a fact. She's opposed to 72% of Democrats in the country and is supposed to be our leader. Second of all, if you don't fight, you never win. Right now, 35% of Americans, you say, well, that's less than a majority. Well, you don't start impeachment proceedings at more than a majority. If you did, it'd be super easy, and that's not how it works. Historically, how does it work? You know when they started impeachment proceedings against Richard Nixon, what that was polling at? 19%. Only 19% of Americans wanted to start impeachment proceedings against Nixon. Half a year later, after they actually heard the case, it was in the high 50s when Nixon resigned. Because if you want to convince Americans of your case, you actually have to make it. That is the #1 problem with Speaker Pelosi throughout her entire career. She told the Democratic Party, lie down, surrender, never make your case. And at the culmination of her career, when she's supposed to be resisting Trump, she's doing the same exact thing, doing the exact opposite, not resisting Trump at all, and saying, do not make your case, let's just preemptively surrender. At the end of the day, she might be historic, but if you're being honest about her track record, she'll be defined by surrender. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.